Hello friends, so today's video is going to be a list of 23 manga that I want to pick up in 2023. I'm just going to jump right into it because obviously there's a lot to mention. First up, we have Attack on Titan. I know a lot of people are huge fans of this series. I know a lot of people are huge fans of the anime. It's one that both my husband and I are really excited to give a try. I am also excited about this one because it seems like it's a good blend of both action adventure and fantastic storytelling, and it seems like it sits comfortably between being something for maybe older teens and also something for adults. So I am looking forward to one that I think will likely hit a lot of what both Sean and I are really interested in when it comes to our manga series. I do want to make clear that with all the ones I mention, I'm not necessarily expecting to be able to read through everything within these series because some of these are quite long, but I am looking forward to reading a lot of them, and that includes Attack on Titan. Next up, we have The Promised Neverland. I have seen the anime adaptation of this, and it is fantastic, at least for the first season. I thought the first season was one of the best seasons of anything that I've ever seen. I cared so much about these characters. I was taken aback. The plot twists were fantastic. And then the second season, I didn't hate, but pretty much everyone who is a fan of the manga says that the second season was an enormous letdown for them because it just doesn't do the story justice. And so I am very interested to go through and see everything there is within the story that was left out of the anime. After that, I plan to reread Vinland Saga and then pick up the newest volume that came out. Vinland Saga, a lot of you know, I have been a huge fan of for years. My husband is a huge fan of it. It is basically the best revenge story that you could ever ask for because it dives really deep into some heavier themes. Thorfinn as a main character is great, but then so much of what you see within the other characters and the moral dilemmas that arise and just the brutality of life and trying to find your way within that. It's done so well. There's so much to it that I feel like when you first start it, you just are not realizing what a roller coaster you're about to get on. So I can't wait to continue on with this and then also watch season 2 of the anime because the anime for season 1 was very good. After that, we have 20th Century Boys. This is one that I know a lot of people absolutely love and that it is wild and it's a lot to take in and it's quite bizarre and you're really not knowing what's going on. You're trying to piece things together because it's somewhat of a fractured timeline, but it feels like it's pretty universally loved from the people who have picked it up. Sean has not yet completed this, but he loved what he had read, so I think the two of us, he plans to start over, and then at some point I plan to start, and then we'll probably be reading through all of it when we can. Another one that is pretty universally loved would be Monster. I've heard from some people that it is a tiny bit overrated because some people treat this like it is the absolute greatest thing ever when it comes to manga, and I still fully expect to really enjoy this story. I know that it's not necessarily fantasy filled like a lot of my other favorites, but it's still one that I'm really excited to try to piece together because I know it is kind of more mystery oriented and it's also kind of diving into why somebody would be doing what they're doing. So it's one that I'm really excited about. I'm excited to see if I agree with the hype or if I think perhaps it is a little overhyped. After that, I plan to continue on with Vagabond. I have already read through the first couple of arcs of this series, and I'll have linked down below the chats that I've done with my husband and my friend Patrick. I have been really liking Vagabond. I do feel like the best is yet to come though, because I see glimpses of how moving it can be. And I have heard that the further in you get, the more character growth you see and the more that it really strikes you and hits you, but that the first couple of arcs are not the best indications of what it has to offer. But regardless, the artwork is so fantastic that I don't want to say it doesn't matter because the story does matter, but the art is so good in Vagabond. After that, we have A Girl from the Other Side. This is one that I was picking up Hat Atelier and Sean was picking up Girl from the Other Side. And he was telling me, I think you would really like this. And then I was telling him about Witch Hat. I think you would really like this. And so he has since picked up Witch Hat. So now it's my turn to pick up Girl from the Other Side. And it seems like the art style is interesting in that it really utilizes very, very stark black and white, and that there's not a lot of shading in between, and that kind of represents certain groups of people or certain mindsets within the story and that the boldness but also simplicity of the art is striking. So I'm excited for that, but I'm also just excited for this story. It seems like it's going to be one of those that seems sweet on the surface but is actually really dark. After that, we have Dead Dead Demons, and this is one of Sean's favorites. He says it's absolutely hilarious and that it's really out there and bizarre. I believe the idea is that you're following these schoolgirls in Japan, and I think there's an alien spaceship just hovering over the country, hovering over Tokyo. I'm not sure the exact details, but apparently the girls are very quirky and the story is quirky, but then it gets really dark, and I'm really excited about that. After that, we have Golden Kamui, which is a historical fiction manga about a gold rush, essentially. And apparently there's a lot to do with food, and there's a lot to do with the brutality of nature, but that it's also really funny and that the characters behave in really bizarre ways, but that it's very entertaining. I've heard the humor is very different from a lot of other manga, but I'm excited to see kind of that brutality of nature, and I like the historical fiction settings. Next to fantasy, historical fiction is one of my favorite genres, and so I'm excited to see that, especially with how much I like Vinland Saga, and Vagabond's very good, so I'm excited to see this one too. After that, we have Yona of the Dawn. I checked out some volumes of this months ago from the library, and I will be having a chat here on this channel with one of my friends, and I'm really excited because I know there's quite a few volumes out of this series, and so I really want to try and get through as much of it as possible. I've heard that it's great for kind of that sense of adventure. It's almost like a YA fantasy, but in manga form. And I like adult fantasy, young adult fantasy, but I feel like with manga, a lot of times you see the Full Metal Alchemist types, which is my favorite. I love Full Metal Alchemist, but I feel like that one leans more sci fantasy and not necessarily as fantasy, and so I'm really excited to see what I think of this one. Speaking of Full Metal, I also have checked out Silver Spoon from the library. Plan to jump into this one. I think this is just gonna be pure joy because I think it's just about some people that live on a farm, except for it's Arakawa, so of course it's probably gonna be hilarious and silly, and I can't wait. Not hilarious and silly, another one I checked out from the library would be Downfall, which is by the same person who did, I think, Dead Dead Demons and Goodnight Poon Poon, and I know that Goodnight Poon Poon is really dark, but I don't know if I'm ready for Goodnight Poon Poon, so I have Downfall. I think it's a little bit shorter. I think it's really only about 1 volume long, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken about that, but plan to read this one as well. I would also like to try Nausicaa Valley of the Wind. I really don't know a whole lot about this, but I know it's kind of that certain vibe that a lot of us have found very whimsical and charming, and I've never seen the movie. I think it's a movie. I've never seen it, and I've not read the manga, but I did find a beautiful edition, one of the bigger bind-ups, so this is one where I think it's just going to be so charming and delightful, and I can't wait. That's kind of the whole thing about this. I can't wait for basically all of these. Next up, we have Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon is basically my childhood. I can't wait to go through, and this is one that I plan to probably read all of the manga for because I just think it's going to be absolutely delightful and so nostalgic for me. I love Sailor Moon. It's so ridiculous. I can't wait. I'm so excited. There it is again. I can't wait. I really, though, Sailor Moon is one that I've been wanting to... I just want to read through all of it and enjoy how silly it is and how over the top Usagi is. And the character types are all just such obvious, like this is the smart one, this is the grumpy one, this is the sporty one, and then there's Usagi, who's just who she is. After that, we have A Bride Story. This is one that both Sean and I are very interested in. This is another one where I don't know that much about it, but I've heard really good things, and I've heard that the artwork is amazing. And I'm a big sucker for fantastic art. So this is one that I can't really comment all that much on because I haven't picked it up yet and I'm not that familiar with it, but it is one that I'm very excited about. Next, we have A Silent Voice. This one seems like it's going to be so wholesome and so sweet. I don't think it's all that long. So this is one that I could see getting through the entirety of it this year because it's going to not take all that much time. But when I'm not in the mood to read depressing things like Downfall or Vinland Saga, or when maybe I don't want to, take on the really long ones like Attack on Titan or Yona of the Dawn, I can just jump into this sweet, wholesome story. And it just seems like it's going to be a really fun, maybe summer read, something sweet and wholesome. If it's not sweet and wholesome, that will be a surprise for me. Next up, we have Spy Family. This one seems like it's kind of really caught people's attention. A lot of people have really enjoyed it. It seems to be following a family of people that come together that all have their various different strengths and powers. And it seems like everybody's really liking it. This is another one that I will probably have a chat for here on this channel soon with another one of my friends. So be on the lookout for that. After that, we have Solo Leveling. I believe this is one that started out online, and then a lot of people were kind of losing their minds over it. And then now you're seeing physical copies, and I think you're also going to see an anime for it as well. And it sounds cool, and it looks cool, and I don't know that much about it, but I thought it sounded cool enough that I wanted to include it on the list. The next few I'm just going to kind of lump together. We have Akira, Tokyo Ghoul, The Ancient Magus' Bride, and Claymore. Claymore is one that I've read, but I never completed, so I do want to go back through and read through all of it. I really like Claymore. It's kind of Witcher-like, so it makes sense that it would be appealing to me. Tokyo Ghoul, I think, will be really fun to pick up maybe in the fall season. And then I don't know all that much about Akira. I think Akira's a little bit older. And then Ancient Magus' Bride, I have heard really good things. I get this one mixed up with The Girl from the Other Side, because I think they both have a man that looks kind of like a creature, and then a woman/girl, and then so I get the two mixed up, especially because the creature looks, I think, kind of similar in them. And I think it's about like defying expectations and people's perception of you and how it's not necessarily a reality and things like that. So I think they have similar themes, but I don't know that for a fact. I will find out when I read it. And then last we have Hat Atelier, which I've already read through the first 10 volumes of this, but I plan to pick up volume 11 as soon as I get my hands on it in July. And I really hope that we get another volume before the end of the year. I don't know that we will. But oh my gosh, I love Witch Hat so much, so much. It is officially one of my favorite stories of all time, and I really need the next volume. But that is it for 23 manga that I plan to pick up in 2023. Let me know if there's any that you feel like should be included on this list. Let me know what some of your favorites are, and then of the ones I mentioned, which one is your favorite. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.